Hi guys, it's Kira and Jesse from Plaid, and we are here tonight with Let's Paint Live, where we teach you to paint a painting in just about an hour. So if you're not familiar and this is your first time, we're so glad that you're joining us. Jesse is going to walk us through our Midnight Owl tonight, just about an hour using folk art paint. She's going to teach you how to paint this beautiful painting. And we have a whole online education program at plaidonline.com/let's paint, where we have a ton of free education that's done by Jesse, Chris Williams, Andy Jones, Priscilla Hauser. There's so much. There's studio lessons. There's a ton of how-to skill builders. So you definitely want to check that out. Also, if you're watching us on Facebook, you can go to our Facebook group and join, which is our Let's Paint with Plaid. And that is a great community for all our painters where you can get tips and tricks, and all our painters interact with everybody. We post a ton of content, so you'll definitely want to check that out and join. We also wanted to let you know that we will be doing a giveaway. So if you are watching live on Facebook, we will be giving away February's paint night, so you have to watch and comment during the live, and tomorrow we will pick a winner. So that's we'll be revealing our February painting, so you'll want to stay around and
everything
comment.
You need for it.
And comment if you have questions, if we're going too fast, going too slow. Like, we want to chat with you while we're doing this. This is a totally interactive if you're watching live. And if you're not, if you want to take your me time and relax later at a different date and time, maybe this weekend, get together with friends, you want to de-stress, you can also watch this on our YouTube channel after, along with all our other paint night lives. They are on demand, so you can watch. We have almost 2 years of these paintings going with Jesse.
Yep, every month.
So again, there's a ton of different subject matter. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, we want to make sure you have all the info, and we hope you enjoy. I'll be checking in with Jessie as she teaches you to paint this hour, our Midnight Owl, and just to make sure that everybody has all their information. Again, give us a shout out, let us know if you have questions, and we'll try to answer while we're live.
Yeah.
So, all right, Jessie, you want to get started?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, awesome.
Okay, so first I'm going to let you guys know what the supplies we'll be needing for tonight is. So I have here a 12 by 12 wood canvas. It doesn't have to be wood. You can just use a regular canvas as well, but I like the wood. I've got 2 brush packs. I have got this 3-piece flat set, the bronze Taklon, and then I also have this lettering and detailing set that's got these round brushes. And then for the folk art paints, we've got folk art acrylic tonight. I have pure orange, aqua, wicker white, navy blue, coffee bean, which one is this one? Lavender, cardinal red, and then I have cinnamon. So that's what we're going to be using tonight. And then of course I have my water basin, some paper towels, and some palette paper. But you can use a plate, whatever works best for you. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my largest round brush. So in this set it is the number 12 round. And I'm going to put it in some water because this is a brand new brush and I want to rinse out some of that sizing. So I'm just going to dip it in my water and I'm going to rinse it off. And then I'm going to grab some of my aqua, which is a really beautiful color, and I'm going to put just a little bit of on my palette, maybe just about a nickel-sized amount. So the first thing we're going to do for the owl painting is kind of start laying out the shape of our owl. So I think a lot of people are intimidated about painting the shapes themselves. They like to trace or transfer and things like that, but I promise you it will not be too tricky. We're going to start with doing the eye, so I think that kind of freaks a lot of people out. So I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to do it freehand to show you guys how I do it, but a little trick is if you're at home, if you have a cup or a Tupperware or something that's about this size, just about 3 inches wide, you can use that to trace to make your eyes. So you can just put a little bit of water and paint on your brush and trace that way. And don't worry if it's messy because we're going to paint over it all anyway, so you don't even need a pencil for this part. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to freehand it. So I'm going to put some water on my brush. When I'm painting, when I'm drawing out sort of the composition of the painting, I like to water down my paint a little because it works more like sort of pen and ink instead of having a thick coat of paint on all those lines, so it makes it smooth and flat. So I'm going to start by sort of finding my center. You of course could use a ruler and all of that if you wanted to, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to sort of eyeball it as I'm painting my eyeballs. And then I'm going to make, you can see here I have, it's about 1 inch wide, so I'm going to leave about 1 inch on either side of my eyes. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna draw the eyes. And don't worry here, I know it feels very permanent because we're using paint right now, but everything that you paint here, we are going to paint over. So do not worry. If you mess up or you're not happy with the placement of your eyes, just go ahead and redo it because we're gonna paint over all of this. So you can see my paint is really thin, so it's gonna be nice and smooth and easy to paint over. And I'm just going slowly, getting a good idea. A lot of times too, it's hard to see when you're doing stuff like this and you want it to be even. It's hard to see it laying flat, whether it's even or not. So I'll hold it up in front of myself and I can see it better that way. So that's a little trick at home. If you feel like it's laying flat and you're not getting a good view, you can hold it up and sometimes that makes it easier to see if it's even. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm kind of even on either side. They're about the same size and placed in relation to the edge of the canvas the same way. And don't worry if it's not perfect. We're going to be painting over this.
Jesse, if you're nervous about painting a circle, could you trace a cup or?
Yeah, that's what I was just telling them. If you have a cup at home, you can use plastic or paper. We've got paper cups here tonight. Feel free to use that to trace it. You can use a pencil, or like I said, you can go ahead. Here, I'll show you how you can just use your paintbrush if you've got a paper cup. Super easy, and just trace it the same way that you would use a pencil. You see? And then you have a perfect circle. You don't have to stress about that.
Yeah, and not to interrupt, but let's show everybody our midnight owl one more time. So this is what we are painting. If you are just joining us, this is our midnight owl for our Let's Paint Live for January. So Jesse's getting started on the eyes, but I just wanted everybody to see if you're just tuning in, if you're a few minutes late. So this is what you're gonna end up with.
Okay, so now I've got my eyes, I've got my 2 circles. I'm gonna hang on to this brush in this color, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna paint the beak. So the beak is going to be sort of a triangle. Here, I'll show you on my palette. It's going to be sort of a triangle, but it's going to be a curved triangle. So I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to do a curved line like that, sort of a cone shape, but it's not going to be straight down. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to paint that right below our eyes. So I'm going to do sort of a curve. And you can see I'm just using the tip of my brush because I want a nice thin line. I don't want to press down too hard. Because if you press down, then of course you get a very thick line, which is not what we're looking for right here. All right, so once we've got that, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna paint the outline of the owl, just sort of filling in our shapes, and then we can fill it in with some base colors. We're gonna be doing a lot of layering tonight, which is really fun. It's a really fun technique for painting animals and things with lots of texture. So let's go ahead and start. I'm gonna start drawing the lines right outside here, right side of the eyes. So I'm gonna follow the lines of my eyes. So I'm going to do a circle out here. It's going to go around this way, sort of a big C shape, and I'm going to mirror it right over here, just following the curve of my eyes. Super simple. And the hardest part of this is really just getting it to be perfectly symmetrical, but it just takes a little bit of practice. Just take your time doing it. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to continue down with sort of the shoulders, the body part of the owl. And I'm going to go right down to the bottom of the canvas. Just another curved line on both sides. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw the top of the head. So I'm going to start, again, don't worry if you mess up. I'm going to start about here on my canvas. I'm going to make another curved line up top, and that's going to be sort of the top of his head. And then these parts here, sort of these tufts of feathers, I'm pretty sure the owls, these aren't their ears, but it looks kind of like ears. So these tufts of feathers here, we're going to paint just sort of like you would paint a cat ear almost. And we're going to go right up to the tip of our canvas, to the edges there. And then we have our owl. Hopefully that wasn't too hard. So now that you've got your outline all painted in, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna grab one of our flat brushes. This is our 3-piece flat set. And I'm gonna grab the largest one, which I believe is a 1-inch flat brush. 3/4 inch, any size you're comfortable with is totally fine. This is my 1 inch. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna rinse that sizing off because it's brand new. Whatever one of the larger flat brushes you have is perfectly fine. And all we're gonna do now, it's gonna be sort of like a coloring book. We're just gonna fill in the body of the owl. So we're not gonna fill in the background, we're not gonna do the eyes, and we're not gonna do the beak. We're just gonna do the body part. And we're just gonna fill it in with a nice, smooth, even coat of aqua. You don't need a ton of paint on your brush, so you don't have a lot there. I'm loading my brush, and I'm just doing a smooth, even coat, just enough to cover it. And if you feel like your brush is dragging a little, because it's sort of a, the dry time of year, and paint dries more quickly this time of year, but also because we're using a wood canvas, the paint will soak into the canvas, and so it might dry your brush out more quickly than it would for a regular canvas. So you can just dip your brush into a little bit of water if that happens, and kind of make your brush a little bit wetter, and that will help make your paint flow a little better onto your onto your canvas. So we're just going around. You can see I'm using the edge of my brush to go up against the lines. I'm not using very much paint at all, just enough to get a nice coverage. We're just filling it in, like I said, just like a coloring book. I'm using the edge of my brush to go right up to the lines. Just a nice, even background coat. And the reason we're putting color, even though this owl will be brown, we're putting color in the back just to give it some dimension and make it a little more fun. It looks like there's maybe colors reflecting off of its feathers, like it's got shiny feathers when we're done. So it's a really fun layering technique that I like to use when I'm painting lots of different kinds of animals with feathers or fur. Just putting some colors in the background makes it a little more interesting. It's really fun too. So I'm getting right up to the bottom, just filling it in. I'm wetting my brush as I go to keep my paint flowing nicely. The folk art, like I said, the folk art paint flows really nicely in general, but we are using a wood canvas, so it soaks up the paint a little quicker. Just going right up to the edges. For the smaller parts, if you're going around the eyes and the beak, if you don't really feel comfortable using this large of a brush to fill in those areas, feel free to switch to one of your smaller flat brushes to fill in those spaces if you feel like that'll be a little bit easier for you. You can feel free to switch to your half-inch brush. Might make it a little easier to get into some of these smaller areas. Feel free to add more paint to your palette if you're running out of aqua. I'm probably going to go ahead and grab some now. Don't forget we're using aqua. This is folk art acrylic in aqua.
So Jessie, while you're filling in the owl with aqua, I just want to say hi to everybody that is tuning in live. So hi, Kelly. She said she's going to be busy tomorrow painting.
Oh, fun.
And Kelly and everybody, don't forget, after you do your painting, go ahead and hashtag it Let's Paint and hashtag Paint with Plaid, because we love to see what you guys are doing out there. So we can definitely hashtag those and we'll post them. We do a Fan Friday on our Instagram account, so definitely let us see what you're doing. Hi, Anne. Hi, Diane. Somebody said they're laying in bed watching and they're sleepy, but the great thing, I am also sleepy, but the great thing is that if you're not watching this live, you can watch it on Facebook after the fact, and also tomorrow it'll be up on our YouTube channel, along with all our other Let's Paint content. So it's a whole online, on-demand content, a free education painting program. So everything from Andy Jones, where he does still lifes and florals and landscapes. We've got Donna Dewberry's Flowers of the Month, Priscilla Hauser, who is a legend in the decorative painting industry. We've got all of Jessie's Let's Paint Lives. So you guys definitely want to check that out if you are sleepy like the rest of us coming off of the holiday. And we hope everybody's having a good new year and that you're able to join us, not for this, but every month at the end, we will go ahead and preview the painting for the next month. So you can go ahead, click the link below, get your supplies, and then paint along with us during the live or when you have free time. So it's a great way to distress, again, coming off the holidays. Take some time for yourself, learn a new skill. I hope it's, one of your New Year's resolutions, maybe to learn something new or try something you haven't before. So if you've never painted, if you haven't tried folk art, this is a great way to do it. And, Jessie and all our teachers make it so easy. So you want to check out all that content. So hi, everybody. We're so glad that you're watching. And Jessie's almost got the little guy filled in. So we will check back with you.
So we just finished, or I just finished filling in the owl's body with aqua. So it should be filled in. We want to smooth it out. We don't want a ton of thick areas of paint. We want it to be nice and thin so that it'll dry fairly quickly. So it'll dry while we're doing the next step before we have to go back and paint over it. So make sure it's just nice and a nice thin coat. I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush off. And I'm going to, oh, still got some paint in there. I'm going to go ahead and grab some of my navy blue, and I'm going to put that on my palette. And we are going to take the navy blue, and you know, we ignored the background and the eyes and the beak, so we're going to go ahead and fill those in with the navy blue now. So I'm probably going to use my 1-inch flat brush for the background and the eyes, and then I might switch to my 1/2-inch flat for the beak, just because it's a little smaller, or even your round brush would work for that too. So we're just going to fill that in. We're still kind of doing the whole coloring book thing here. And then we're going to add all the beautiful colors and textures on top of it to make it look like a real owl. And also, while you're doing this, you can feel free and paint the sides of your canvas with navy, or you can pick a different color to paint them with. But as we're going, if you feel like you have time, if you've gotten ahead, feel free to go ahead and paint the sides of your canvas, or you can do it later. I usually do it later, but it's totally up to you. You can paint them with aqua or one of the other fun colors, or navy just to match the background. But you can feel free to do that, unless you're going to frame it. If you're going to frame it, I guess you don't need to paint it. So again, I'm just using my brush and I'm going right up to the edge of my owl. And don't worry if you make a little mistake. We're going to paint over all of this. This is sort of just the base coat for what we're going to do. So don't worry. If you get a little bit onto the owl, we're going to paint over it, so it's no big deal. I'm just filling it in. I'm kind of using the shape of my brush. Oh, see, I got some blue, but that's okay. The shape of my brush to fill in this circle. I'm going right up to the edges. I'm getting a nice navy circle for these eyes. These eyes are a little exaggerated, but owls do have very big eyes. So let us know in the comments if there's anything else you're interested in painting. We're always looking for ideas and inspiration for these Let's Paint Lives. So if there's something that you want to learn to paint or something you think would be fun, feel free to let us know. We are always reading and watching your comments, and we love to hear from you. Just going right up to the edges. We don't want this to be super thick, just enough to get a smooth coat of paint to cover these areas. And it's sort of relaxing just doing these big areas of paint, this sort of base coating part. And look at that coverage. This is just one coat and the canvas is already completely full. There's no spots showing. Folk art is one of the best paints in my opinion because it just has the greatest coverage.
Yeah, and we had a question earlier on Facebook if you had to seal or do anything to the wood canvas. And this is just a raw wood canvas panel, 12 by 12. We actually sell it on plaidonline.com. You could do this on a regular canvas.
Totally. You can use a regular canvas. We sell these online. I love them because they're so smooth and they're great. They absorb paint really well, so they're really fun to paint on. And no, I did not seal it. You could seal it afterwards if you wanted to, if you were planning on keeping it for a long time and you wanted to make sure the paint was protected, but I don't usually seal my paintings and I've never had a problem.
Yeah, the folk art's not going to fade,
Nope.
It's not going to wear, so
Not at all.
You'll be good to go with your piece of art.
Right. Okay, so we're just going to try to
Oh,
fill
you
this
asked
in.
for suggestions. Here we go. This is always fun.
yeah.
I love, and it's a new
know.
year and we're planning our
Yeah.
content, so this is great. So something fairy related.
Okay.
Or something that has to do with a book.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And we're seeing
We
books
love painting on
everywhere. I
books.
love that idea. Yeah, so we'll have to think about that.
Definitely. We love that idea. Maybe we'll paint on a book next month.
Yeah,
We'll see.
That's a great idea.
All right. So I've got it all filled in. Oops, I have to do my beak. I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to clean off my large flat brush now. And I think I'm just going to switch to my 12 round since I have it out. And I'm going to paint in the beak. And you can use the round brush if you want to sort of get that tip of the beak. And I'm going to add some little details. I'm just going to put a little bit of a shape on the side there because that's sort of what the beak looks like. Here, you can look at my final painting. It sort of has that at the base. All right, so now I'm done filling in the back. Hopefully everybody's catching up. Okay, so next we've got everything filled in. We painted the background, we painted the owl. We are going to start adding some color. So I'm going to grab, I'm going to keep my 12 round, and I'm going to start with some red. So here I've got cardinal red, and I'm going to put about a nickel size amount on my palette. And we're going to start creating some of the feather textures on our owl. So I'm going to load my brush. I don't need a ton of paint. And this is a really fun part. This is a part that you really can't mess up. So I'm going to start painting just strokes, and these are going to be the feathers. So here I'll show you. What you'll want to notice before you start making strokes is the direction that the lines are going to be going in. So on an owl, all the feathers are going to be going in one direction. So they're kind of going to be coming out from the eyes. So on the bottom, they're going to be coming away from the eyes. On the top, they're going to be going out from the eyes. And you can watch me as I go, just kind of see what direction I'm going in. So I'm just going to start making big strokes like that. Super easy. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on my brush. I'm making these red feathers, I guess. And I'm going to do this all over the aqua area. And this is going to be the base of our colorful feathered owl. And I'm going to do a ton of these. We're going to do almost full coverage of these feathers. Not totally, because you want to see the aqua showing through. But we are going to put a ton of color on here. So you can see I'm just doing random strokes. I'm going right up to the edge because the feathers would be going right up to the end of our owl. And I'm coming away from the face. So on this side, you can go out that way, or you can make them come down. Just as long as they're all kind of going in one direction, that's what's going to be important. I'm going to ignore this part because we're going to put some tiny strokes in there. If you've already painted on it, that's totally fine. But we're going to do a similar technique with tiny strokes. So I'm kind of ignoring the forehead area. But I am going to go onto these sort of wisps of feathers at the top of his head. And I'm going straight up to the edges. This is a really fun, quick way to add some texture. I'm going up here, doing the same thing. All right, so I've got a good amount of red feathers on here. So I think I'm going to stop there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean my brush. You can do as much red or as little red as you want. We're going to be doing all of these bright colors as feathers. So next I'm going to grab some of my lavender. I still have the thing on here. I'm just going to grab about the same amount that I grabbed of my red. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go make these feathers just the way we did the red. You can even go a little bit on top of the red if you want to, sort of overlap them and layer them. But we're trying to fill in the owl's body with lots of colors. This is a really fun, loose technique. And I love the way that it looks underneath the brown when the painting is finished. So don't forget to go right up to the edge. We don't want to miss those areas. We want it to look like soft feathers. And it's like I said, you really can't mess it up. As long as you're not pushing too hard and all of your feathers sort of look consistent, you're going to have a beautiful owl in the end. I like the purple, so I'm going to add a lot of purple, I think. But if you don't like purple, you can do a different color. You can just leave the purple out and stick with the other colors we're going to do. It's totally up to you. All right. think I'm going to stop there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rinse my brush off again. And I'm going to get some orange. Here I have pure orange. And I'm going to put another about nickel-sized amount. You don't need too much. I'm going to do the same thing we did with the red and the purple. Load up my brush. And try not to get it, you don't want to mix the orange and the purple because you'll get, excuse me, sort of a muddy brown color because they're both still wet. So try if you can to avoid going over the purple with the orange. It's okay if you get the purple, or I'm sorry, the orange on the red, because if those two colors mix together, they're in the same family, so they'll be okay. And also the red is probably a little bit dry by now since that's the first color we did. Well, I'm just going to try to avoid overlapping onto the purple for these colors. And that's something that Andy Jones talks a lot about in his skill builders. He talks about color theory, but it's also something as a painter you kind of learn as you go. It's something that makes a lot of sense to you the more you paint and the more you mix colors together. But if you want to learn more about colors, you can go check out Andy's videos. And we want to show, let some of the aqua show through, but don't forget we're going to cover all of this up with brown, so we don't have full coverage either. I'm going to do some right here above the eyes. I realize I don't have a ton there. And see, I'm just doing it super loose. I'm not really worried about how perfect my strokes are because this is just to put some color in. And I'm going to go ahead and rinse off my brush. And then I'm going to do a few navy feathers as well because I like the idea of bringing the background sort of into the owl to make it more cohesive. Make it look like one big finished piece, like they belong together. I'm just going to do a few of these navy feathers here and there. Not a ton. How's everybody doing, Kira?
Everybody's good. So, Karen asked about the wood canvases, so we can go ahead and post the link below. So these are our 12 by 12 wood canvases. Mm-hmm. And let's see what else. Lisa, she loves these colors, and I was going to say, if you're not a fan of these colors, you could really make this out any color and do this technique with, if you wanted a warmer palette or a cooler palette.
Yeah, you could make it neons, you could do a hot pink owl if you wanted to. It's just a really fun technique. You can totally substitute your own colors.
Right, I love that. And it's just, what's so pretty is just the colors pop out of the brown feathers. So you could really, like you said, make it match your decor.
Totally. So, yeah. It could be a white owl, like a white snowy owl, anything you'd like.
Yeah, so I'm glad everybody is watching. We have a pretty big audience, so we're glad. Yeah. We hope everybody is either painting along live or you're watching and you're going to take some me time and de-stress and get past the holidays and go ahead and paint on your own time. Get together, with your favorite beverage or your friends and have a painting party.
Definitely. Make it a New Year's resolution to paint a little.
Yeah, so I think everybody's getting caught up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know, Will, do you want to show what everybody in our audience is doing?
Yeah, let's see.
So we've got a room full tonight. So we've got owls. We got some crazy feathers there. We got little feathers.
Wow, those look
great,
guys.
I love that you can personalize all these. Lots of owls. So yeah, and don't forget to hashtag your paintings when you're done with hashtag Let's Paint and hashtag Paint with Plaid, because we want to see what you're making. We want to see your owl. We want to see all your projects. So yeah, you guys, so fun. Everybody's doing a great job.
Nice, guys.
Yeah.
Those look awesome.
Hi, Billy. Hi, Carl. They're just joining us.
Yeah. So now I'm just going to let you guys know, we're going to kind of keep doing the same thing that we have been doing. We're going to grab one of our smaller round brushes. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab this number 6 round, but any small round you have is fine. And we're gonna do the same thing we're gonna do on the forehead, and owls sort of have smaller feathers in the forehead, so that's why we're gonna switch to a smaller brush. So we're gonna do the same thing, we're gonna go red, purple, orange, blue, and do the same thing coming away from the eyes on the forehead like that. So just tinier little strokes. So I'm gonna start with the red, just like we did before, and I'm just gonna do tiny little strokes coming up.
And Martha asked, she's going to be painting on a smaller board, so she hopes it turns out, but I think you could totally do this on any size. This is a 12 by 12, you could do it on a 10 by 10, you could do it on a 6 by 6.
The only thing I'd say that if you were planning on using a cup to as a template for your eyes, just make the cup a little smaller, use like the cap of something.
Oh,
or
that's a good idea.
A paint bottle and trace that. But that's otherwise it should totally work on a smaller canvas, or larger for that matter.
Yeah, I love she's going to be painting this weekend. So, and
cool.
Again, if you're not painting along now, or if you purchased your supplies, or you need to purchase your supplies, don't forget the link is below, so you can get all these great folk art paints, brushes, and the 12 by 12 wood surface. So you can go ahead and paint, you know, when you have some free time.
I would order a few of these because these are really fun to paint on.
They are great. They're so versatile. We use these almost every month. So you can see real quick while you're filling in the red there. This is just the back. So you can even turn this around and use it as for projects. Like
a shadow box.
A lot of times with Mod Podge and things like that. So you could even do your painting or a project in here, or you can use the flat surface.
Like a reversible even.
Yeah, so it's great. So that's a great thing to have.
Yeah, these are my go-tos for sure when I'm picking a surface for painting.
Yep.
So we're still just doing our little feathers on the forehead of our owl. They're smaller than the rest of the body. So that makes it kind of interesting too when you pay attention to things like that for a painting. If you were to look at, you know, a photo of an owl, notice the things about how the texture is smaller on the forehead. Those are the kind of details that end up making your painting look more real when you're done. If we were to do all just big feathers across the forehead, I'm sure it would look good too, but it may not look as realistic. So that's kind of why we're doing that. And I'm going right over the edge because I want to have sort of that wispy texture at the top, like he's got kind of a little fuzzy head. And again, we're just keeping up with the same colors. And don't forget, I'm going to try not to mix my orange with my purple. But I'm going to put it over the red, that's fine. And I like the aqua showing through too. You'll see just a little hint of that at the end after we do all of our browns. And then I'm just going to do just a few of the little navy feathers.
So while Jessie is filling in her feathers, I just want to say hi, Patty. Hi, Liz. So Liz ordered her kit, and she's going to try to make time this weekend.
Awesome.
So we love that. So don't forget to post your painting.
We'd love to see it.
And I hope I do not, I'm going to butcher this name, but Meha Maha. So you've been posting a ton. We love to see your comments. I know I'm probably being terrible at pronouncing your name, but she's never seen these kind of canvases. She can't wait to get them. We'll post the link below. And you said your 5-year-old daughter is excited to paint. So this is a great one for the kids.
This is a fun one
also
for kids.
To get involved.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us. Karen, hi. If I didn't say hi already. Hi, Martha. So yeah, everybody's tuning in, and they're either painting with us or they have plans this weekend.
Awesome, I love that.
It's chilly some places, so it's a good, great activity to do indoors and relax. So we're excited.
The first weekend back after returning to school, so it's a fun activity for sure. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we've kind of got all of our colorful feathers painted in now. So we're going to let these dry for just, a couple minutes. We're going to work on some of the other details before we start painting over those. We don't want to smear all those colors around and make them muddy. So I'm going to go ahead and from my flat brush set, I'm going to grab my 1/2 inch flat brush. And just like I said about the canvas, these as it's my go-to. These two brush packs are my go-to too. We use these a lot for Let's Paint. I love the variety of flats and then the rounds too. I pretty much use them for all my paintings, which if you're a fan of the Let's Paint Lives, you probably noticed that. We use these brushes a lot. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to paint the pupils of the owl's eyes. So we're going to do these two lines there. So, don't get nervous. We're going to kind of draw it out first to make sure we have something to follow. And then we're going to do sort of a swooping motion like a C. So don't worry, I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab some cinnamon, which is the light brown color that we have. I'm going to put just a little bit on my palette. I always put a little bit on my palette because I don't want to waste the paint. So I can always add more, but you can't take it away. So that's why we do that. And I'm going to load my brush with cinnamon. And I'm going to sort of mark off the line where I want it to be. So I want the line to start here. So I'm going to hold my brush upright and I'm going to make a little mark. That's where I want it to start. I hope you guys can see that. And then I want my line to end about up here. So that's where I want my line to end. So now I want to try to make it symmetrical. So make these about the same place on either side, sort of mirrored, and make these about the same place as well. So now I can see they're pretty symmetrical, so I should have mirrored eyes. So for the C shape, we are going to I'm going to tell you what we're going to do first. We're going to hold our brush upright and we're going to press down and make it a little wider. So we've sort of done some of this brush work before in Let's Paint Live, so we always sort of practice on our palette. So if you want to practice some C strokes, feel free. So here, I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold it upright and then I'm going to press down and make that shape. You see how that works? And we're just going to follow the line we've made. So here, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to connect the lines the same way we just marked it off. And I'm about a ½ inch away from the edge of the eye. I'm going to mark off where I think those lines look good. I'm just sort of tapping my brush to make a really thin line just for my own reference before I start painting that C. So I can see where I want my stroke to go. So feel free to keep practicing on your palette or on a piece of paper, whatever you've got around, even a napkin. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint my pupils though. So I'm going to hold it upright and then I'm going to follow my line. I'm going to press down and go all the way up and around. And I sort of ran out of paint there at the end, but that's okay. I can just go back and fill it in. So now we've got a really nice, neat pupil. And you can go back over that line if you need to with a little bit more paint. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other eye. So I'm going to start here, and I have a little too much paint on my brush. I'm going to take some off. I am going to hold my brush here, and I'm going to press down and then go up and around. And again, I kind of ran out of paint at the end there, but that's okay. Now I know where my line is, so I can go back and fill it in easily. So this makes a beautiful sort of ochre eye color on this owl. You can fill it in more if you need to. Since it's a light color over this navy, you might need to do a little bit of a second coat. But that's a great way to sort of paint big eyes like this. So I'm going to wash my brush off. And I'm going to add a little bit of a highlight to the eyes using some orange. So it's not going to be too different than the cinnamon. It's just going to give it a little bit of a pop. And I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm going to use the same technique I've been using. Just at the bottom of the eye, I'm going to make a little bit of orange. You can see it just sort of brightens the eye a little bit. It's not too intense. You can't notice it that much, but it gives it a little bit of extra intensity. You can blend that in if you want. There you go. I'm going to wash off my brush. And I'm going to put some of the wicker white onto my palette. This is wicker white here. Any white will do, but I like wicker white. It's a little bit warmer. So I'm going to load my brush with the white. And we are going to draw the sort of the shining part of our eyes. So the little twinkles. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it just the way we've been doing to make sure they're symmetrical. So use the very corner of my brush And I'm going to go right at the edge of that C stroke. I'm just going to put a little dot so I know where to put it. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to make it the same place on the other side. And this is a good time if you feel like it's not right, go ahead and just wipe that off with your finger and maybe paint blue over it if you need to, and move it to where you think that it'll be symmetrical. Also, like I said before, if you want to hold your canvas up in front of you, sometimes it's easier to see it that way. If you are having trouble telling whether it's symmetrical or not, feel free to do that. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to paint a circle, and I'll show you, it's hard for me to show you on my palette paper because it's white. Maybe you can see it better on here. I'm just going to twist my brush around and make a perfect, here, you want to come closer and see this, Will? Can you see it there? Okay. I'm going to hold my brush upright and I'm just going to put very little pressure and twist it around to make a perfect little circle. You see that there? So you feel free to practice this on a napkin or something before you do it right onto your canvas. But we're just going to make a perfect little circle for the twinkle of this eye. It does take a little bit of practice, but it's not too tricky. It's pretty simple once you get the hang of it. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to paint that onto my owl's eye, right where I put that dot. And paint a little circle. See, we have a nice little perfect circle there. And it's about the width of our 1/2-inch flat brush. It's not a whole lot bigger than that. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, right on my dot. And again, if you feel like it's not symmetrical, feel free to paint back over it with the navy and move it a little bit left or right or wherever it needs to be. It's super easy to do, super easy to fix. So hopefully they're pretty symmetrical now. And then once we've got that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wash my brush off. Looks like everybody's got their little twinkles, so that's good. I'm glad y'all are keeping up.
Yeah, that's a great technique.
Yeah, thanks. It's pretty simple. Like I said, it takes a little bit of practice. Once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy to do. So we've done this before. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the back of my brush to make these little smaller parts of the twinkle. So I'm going to dip the back of my brush into my wicker white, just a little bit, and I'm going to put a little dot on the bottom outside corners. So a little dot there and a little dot there. Oops, I'm going to make that one a little bigger. There. So now we have just a little, it looks like we have got big shiny eyes on our owl. He's looking pretty cute already. All right, so now we spent time working on these little details. Our canvas should be fairly dry. You don't want to smear it around too much because there are a little bit of wet places, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and start adding some of the browns to our owl. Excuse me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my large round brush, which is my number 12 again. And I'm going to pick up some of my cinnamon, and we are going to do the same technique that we were doing before with the colors, and we're going to go right over the colors. And you're probably going to say, why are we painting over this? We already painted it. But this is just going to allow for all those colors to show through, but it's going to make our owl look a little more real. So here, we're going the same direction. We're just going to be going right over the strokes we made before. And we definitely don't want full coverage because you want to see those beautiful colors coming through. But it's going to look really cool when we're done. Just going right over. We're going to be using a couple different browns, so leave some space for the other brown. Going right up to the edge, making it as random as we can. Going in the same direction that we painted our other feathers earlier.
Oh, Jesse, we have a question. What color we're using?
Yeah. We are using cinnamon right now. We've got our 12 round and Folk Art acrylic cinnamon. It's a really beautiful, like, caramelly brown color.
It looks so pretty with the navy.
I know. I love these colors
and the
together.
Aqua, yeah. And again, a palette I probably wouldn't choose, so I love the contrast in that.
Yeah, yeah. Sort of fun for winter. But it gives you like a little bit of a surprise pop.
Yeah. Oh, Anne just said, Plaid is so kind to be sharing all this inspirational education. Anne, thank you. We hope you guys are all enjoying.
We love doing it. We love doing it for you guys.
And don't forget, if you're commenting while we're live, you're going to be entered to win the supplies to do our February paint night. So check back tomorrow and we'll post in the comments who the winner is. So that's a great way to, if you are a regular viewer and you want to paint along, to win your supplies. And if this is your first time or you're just checking us out, this is a great way to get started. So leave your comment below because we'll pick a winner for tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm going to put a little more cinnamon on my palette. So you can see I'm definitely not covering it up all the way. I'm going to put another brown too. So I'm leaving some room for that. But I'm just going over all of my colors that I made before. Okay, so I think that's good. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to wash my brush off. And I'm going to put some coffee bean on my palette, which is the darker of our two browns that we're using tonight. And we're going to keep doing the same technique now, the same feather strokes using this brown. We can overlap the other brown too to make the feathers look really full. And we don't want to cover up the colors all the way, but we want more brown than colors. Or if you want your owl to be more colorful, feel free to leave more colors. It's totally up to you. For mine, I'm going to cover it up a little bit more so it looks more like a traditional owl tonight. If you feel like you need to turn your canvas for a more comfortable angle, feel free to do that. I do that a lot when I'm painting. And we're just making strokes over all of these colorful feathers we painted. I'm going right to the bottom. Don't forget the sides and then these little wisps of feathers at the top. Okay. So you can see I've got a lot of my colors still showing through. I definitely didn't do full coverage. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use our smaller brush and do it over the smaller feathers that we made on the owl's little fuzzy forehead. So we're going to use our smaller round brush. So I've got the number 6 round. I'm going to go ahead and pick up some of the cinnamon, and I'm going to keep doing this technique just like we've been doing. And you can see, you probably might be wondering, I don't think I said this, I'm sorry. I didn't really go right up to the eyes because I'm going to fill that in with some lighter feathers later. So that's the reason I haven't really gone up. If you went right up to the eyes, that's totally fine. But that's the reason I was kind of ignoring it, in case you were wondering. I don't think I remembered to mention that. So just doing the same technique, we're going right over these colorful feathers with our 2 brown colors. I'm going to go onto my coffee bean. And again, you can do as much or as little of the brown as you'd like. Feel free to leave more color or cover more of the colors. It's totally up to you. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there though. So I'm going to go ahead and clean my small round brush. I'm going to pick up my large round brush. And I am going to grab some cinnamon. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to outline the outside parts of these eyes just to cover up some of those areas, and in case you got any feathers into that part, I just want a nice clean line around there to kind of clean that up. I'm just going to draw a line right around it. I'm sort of putting medium pressure. I'm not pressing down too hard, but I'm certainly not making a very thin line. I'm just going to paint some cinnamon just to sort of clean it up and make the eyes look a little bit neater right around there. Gives the eyes a little bit more definition. We don't want them to get lost. The eyes are sort of the focal point of this painting, but with all the color, we don't want them to get lost. So we're going to give them a little bit more of an outline here. And don't forget, we want it to be pretty symmetrical, so whatever you did to one side, just make sure you do it to the other side as well. Okay. And clean my brush off. And that was cinnamon that I just outlined the eyes with. All right. Hope everybody's caught up. You guys good? Okay. We got a so-so in the audience. Let's just slow down a little bit. We're just on to the last couple of steps here. So right now on my palette, I'm gonna mix a little bit of wicker white and cinnamon. So the lighter of the 2 browns and then wicker white. And I'm just mixing them about 1 part to 1 part just to get sort of a sandy color. And this is gonna be what we use to make those lighter feathers around the eyes. And really, normally when I'm mixing colors, I would want to make sure that I get, it mixed really thoroughly so I don't have any streakiness. But for this, I kind of like that it's not mixed totally because it's going to give us some more dimension and some more colors in our feathers around the eyes. So you can see here I got a lot of paint on my brush because I just mixed with it. I'm going to wipe some of that off because I don't want to paint with that moppy brush. So now I took some out and I'm going to pick some more back up. So we're going to go around the eyes, and here I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to paint this part here. This is where we're going. It's painting all of these, sort of make the eyes pop a little more. So I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm going to start doing the same strokes we've been doing. You guys are experts at that now because we've pretty much used it to paint the whole painting. I'm just doing these strokes around the eyes. And as you can see, I'm kind of picking up some colors and some brown, and I like that. I think that looks cool. It sort of ties the whole painting together. It sort of looks like my brush has been double loaded maybe, but it's really just picking up those colors underneath, which is fun. And then I'm going to go beneath too and paint some feathers down there. I'm just sort of starting here and going out, covering up all these little areas around my eyes. Don't forget, where our feathers are always going away from the eyes. Just going around. You go as far out as you'd like. I'm going to go under the eyes with some bigger feathers. Just going all over. I'm going to do some going on top, some bigger feathers, sort of like a brow for the owl. So I'm kind of going up around the tops here. I don't want to cover it too much. And when you're doing this, you can really change the expression of the owl very quickly. So if you kind of start going over the eyes, he might start looking kind of mean, which is fine. You can have your owl be kind of intense if you want, but if you keep the eyes really round, he's going to be sort of more of a friendly owl.
I feel like this is where you really give him personality.
Definitely.
Like it all comes together and you get to know your owl.
Yeah, all the personalities in the eyes for sure. So we're just making these sort of highlight feathers. And I'll just paint right over there to go up to the edge. And I'm also going to paint some with this color up under these tufts of feathers. They, like I said, they kind of look like ears, but I'm pretty sure they're not ears.
I would have totally called them ears. I love that you corrected it.
I'm pretty certain they're not.
They're not.
I could be wrong. They do look like it though. They're like cat ears. Yeah. So we're just going to kind of put some feathers under there. I'm going to extend this white out a little so they almost meet up, or this lighter brown, I guess I should say. And you can see I'm kind of doing a wisping motion, and that makes a really sharp point on my stroke. So I'm kind of going like that. You know, we've been doing this the whole time though, y'all know. And I'm going to add some more white into this area because you can still see the aqua beneath. So whenever you add white to a color, it makes it more opaque. So if you've got a color that's kind of transparent, it definitely make your color lighter, so make sure you remember that. But it will also make your color more opaque, and so it'll have even better coverage. So I'm added some white to make sure I cover up all these areas here. I'm trying to go around the beak as neatly as I can. If you feel like you want to go back and paint some more navy on the beak, if he's kind of gotten covered up by some feathers, totally do that. That'll help sort of keep him standing out. Okay. Got a lot of paint on my brush that's really wet, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop there. Now that we've got our eyes all highlighted, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add even more personality to our owl's eyes by adding some sort of lashes. So here, I'll show you what I'm going to do. You can see how it kind of got messy there, that line. It's not so clear anymore. I'm going to start on that line, right in the line of the eye, and I'm going to do the same motion that I just did with the white parts of the owl's brows. So I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to flick up, and I'm going to do probably 3 times where I can see the edge of, or the end of each of those strokes. And that sort of gives your owl sort of some intense lashes. And this is navy blue. Back to our navy here, so it matches the eyes. You can see that sort of just gives him a little more personality. And like I said, you can take the time now to go ahead and fill in that beak if he got kind of covered up by feathers. You go ahead and make sure that he's pronounced still. Okay, guys, and I think this is it for our midnight owl. That should be the final touch. And that's it. Now make sure you sign your painting. Oh, let's add a highlight. They're reminding me to add a highlight to our nose. So I'm going to pick up my 6 round and some white, and we're just going to do a little highlight on the nose to make it look like it's shiny. Thanks
and you don't have to do that if you don't want to. I think just the sample had it.
Thanks for reminding me, guys. I almost forgot. Okay, so now it's it for Midnight Owl.
So you guys, we hope you enjoyed Midnight Owl. If you were painting along with us live, or you're joining us after on our Facebook channel or on our YouTube channel tomorrow, this will be live. If you don't have your supplies, go ahead and click the link below because you can purchase all the supplies to go ahead and complete this painting. Don't forget to check out our plaidonline.com/Let's Paint because you can find our whole entire Let's Paint free online education series. So you don't want to miss that. We hope everybody enjoyed. And if you've commented during this live, you'll be entered to win the product to join us for February's paint night, which is, I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek, and this event will be live right after we go off the air. So this is Sunflower Field. So Jesse will be painting this on February 6th. Hey, you forgot the nose. So you guys, anyway, this is a great painting. We've never done sunflowers. It is beautiful, this yellow, the blue. So we hope everybody can join us. Mark your calendars, February 6th at 7:30. Again, click the link below to go ahead and get the product. And we hope everybody enjoyed. Don't forget to hashtag Let's Paint and paint with Plaid so we can see what you've painted out there. So thanks, guys. Have a good night.